It was just another normal day at a bustling cafe in downtown Los Angeles, where Sarah, a young barista, worked tirelessly behind the counter. She had been serving coffee to the city's high-powered professionals and tourists alike for nearly a year. And although she enjoyed the routine, something was always missing. Sarah often dreamed of a life filled with purpose, something beyond the repetitive motions of making lattes and cappuccinos. Little did she know, that day would change everything. The cafe was packed as usual, but one customer, in particular, caught Sarah's attention. He was dressed in a simple hoodie and jeans, an unassuming man who blended into the crowd. However, there was something undeniably familiar about his face. As Sarah handed over a cup of coffee to the man, she smiled politely. But then it hit her. This was Keanu Reeves. Sarah froze for a moment, staring at the actor in shock. Keanu had always been one of her favorite actors, but she never imagined she would meet him in a setting like this. Despite the fact that he was a celebrity, he was incredibly humble, not asking for any special treatment. Instead, he just seemed like any other person who walked into the cafe for a cup of coffee. But something else caught her eye. Keanu was trying to pay for his coffee with a credit card that seemed to be declined. Sarah watched as he swiped the card again, the machine flashing a red light. It was a minor inconvenience, but Sarah could sense the frustration in his eyes. Without thinking much, she quickly took the card from his hand, reassuring him that she'd take care of it. "Don't worry about it, Mr. Reeves. Let me help," she said with a kind smile. Keanu raised an eyebrow, surprised by her willingness to help. "Are you sure?" he asked, a gentle smile crossing his face. "It's really no trouble." "Absolutely," Sarah responded. "I've got this." Sarah swiftly took care of the payment, her heart racing as she tried to remain calm despite the surreal situation. After a brief exchange of pleasantries, Keanu thanked her for her kindness. The moment seemed to pass quickly, and Sarah returned to her usual routine, still reeling from the fact that she had just helped Keanu Reeves. What she didn't know was that this small act of kindness would soon lead to a chain of events that would change her life forever. The next morning, Sarah walked into the cafe, ready for another busy day. But as soon as she stepped through the door, she was met with a cold reception from her manager, Lisa. There was a tense atmosphere in the air, and Sarah couldn't help but feel that something was wrong. Lisa quickly approached her, her face stern. "Sarah, we need to talk," she said, her tone serious. Sarah's stomach dropped. She had no idea what this could be about. She had been a diligent employee and had always kept her head down, just doing her work. "I just got a call from the corporate office," Lisa continued. "It seems there was an issue with a customer yesterday, and unfortunately, it involves you." Sarah's heart skipped a beat. She immediately thought back to the moment she had helped Keanu Reeves. Had she done something wrong? Was she not supposed to offer help to a customer in that way? Before she could respond, Lisa's voice grew colder. "We received a complaint. Apparently, you took it upon yourself to handle a customer's payment without checking with anyone first." Sarah felt the weight of the words sink in. She tried to explain, but Lisa cut her off. "You're fired, Sarah. I'm sorry, but we can't have employees making decisions like that without authorization. You've violated our policies." Sarah stood there in shock, her mind racing. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. The kindness she had shown to a customer, someone who just happened to be Keanu Reeves, had now cost her job. It seemed so unfair. "But I was just trying to help," Sarah said softly, trying to hold back the tears. "I didn't think it would be a problem." "Well, it is," Lisa replied. "I suggest you pack up your things." With those words, Sarah's world seemed to crumble around her. She had been let go for something that felt so trivial, so unjust. But as she walked out of the cafe for the last time, her mind was still spinning. Little did she know that this was just the beginning of a journey that would change her life in ways she couldn't even begin to imagine. Sarah walked out of the cafe, her heart heavy and her mind racing. She couldn't believe what had just happened. The whole situation felt surreal. She had only tried to help a customer, someone who, in hindsight, had been a huge part of her childhood memories. But now she found herself standing on the sidewalk, facing the harsh reality that her job was gone. She pulled her jacket tighter around her, the chill in the air matching the cold feeling inside her chest. It wasn't just about the job, it was the principle. She had always believed in doing the right thing no matter the circumstances. Helping Keanu Reeves, a person she admired, had felt like the right thing to do in that moment. Now it had cost her everything. The tears she had been holding back began to spill as she sat down on the nearest bench. Sarah had been working at the cafe for almost a year, saving up for her dreams. She had always wanted to attend film school, but the expenses had been too much to handle. She had hoped that the job would help her get by, that it would be the stepping stone to a better future. But now that future seemed uncertain. Why did this have to happen? Sarah whispered to herself, wiping her eyes. The thoughts swirled in her mind, each one more frustrating than the last. Just as she was about to pull herself together and head home, a figure approached her. It was a man, wearing a simple jacket and jeans. Sarah barely registered him at first, too lost in her thoughts. But then he stopped in front of her, his familiar face striking her like a bolt of lightning. It was Keanu Reeves. "Are you all right?" he asked, his voice soft and filled with genuine concern. Sarah blinked, surprised that he would even recognize her after their brief encounter the day before. I'm fine," she replied, trying to compose herself, but the weight of the situation was too much to bear. "It's just been a really tough day." Keanu sat down beside her, not in any rush, not showing the arrogance one might expect from a Hollywood star. Instead, he gave her a look of empathy, as if he had been in a similar position himself. "I saw what happened yesterday," he said, gently. "You helped me when I needed it. I appreciated that more than you know." Sarah wiped her eyes again, nodding. "I didn't mean to do anything wrong. I was just trying to be kind, but I guess it wasn't the right thing to do." Keanu shook his head, his expression kind yet serious. "Sometimes doing the right thing doesn't always get the response we expect, but that doesn't mean it was wrong. You made a choice based on your values, and that's something to be proud of." Sarah glanced at him, still processing what he was saying. "I lost my job because of it," she murmured. "I thought I was helping, but now everything's falling apart." Keanu looked at her with a contemplative expression, then said something that caught her completely off guard. "I think you've been given an opportunity, not just a setback." Sarah turned her head to look at him. "An opportunity? How can losing my job be an opportunity?" Keanu smiled gently. "Sometimes life throws us a curveball to push us in the direction we're meant to go. Maybe this is your chance to follow that dream you've been putting off, the one you told yourself you couldn't afford. I can tell by the way you care about others that you're not someone who backs down from challenges. This is just the beginning." His words, simple yet powerful, struck a chord in Sarah's heart. She had always dreamed of going to film school, but she had convinced herself that it was too out of reach. The cost, the time, the risk, all of it had seemed like an impossible hurdle. But now Keanu's words gave her a glimmer of hope she hadn't felt in a long time. Maybe he was right. Maybe this unexpected turn of events was a sign to pursue her passions, to stop making excuses, and to take the first step toward the life she truly wanted. Keanu TM's voice broke her thoughts. "Listen, I don't TM to know if you believe in second chances, but I think you are TM about to get one. And this time, don't TM let fear hold you back." With that, he stood up, offering his hand to help her to her feet. Sarah took it, still in shock but grateful for his kindness. As Keanu began to walk away, he turned back to her. Forget her. Sometimes the hardest moments lead to the greatest rewards." With those final words, he disappeared into the crowd, leaving Sarah standing there, her mind racing. It was as if the universe had conspired to bring her this moment to a chance encounter that changed everything. She realized that perhaps for the first time, she was just a bystander in her own life. She had the power to shape her future. And as she stood there in the bustling streets of Los Angeles, Sarah made a decision. She would no longer let fear dictate her choices. She would chase her dreams. It wasn't attempt going to be easy, but she had a feeling that with the support of the unexpected people around her, she could find the strength to make it happen. The days that followed were filled with a whirlwind of emotions. Sarah couldn't shake the conversation she had with Keanu Reeves. His words replayed in her mind over and over again, like a mantra that refused to be ignored. She was now standing at a crossroads in her life, one path leading to the same old routine and the other stretching out into the unknown, where her dreams and ambitions awaited. It was not going to be easy, and it was certainly going to take a leap of faith. But Sarah knew deep down that the time had come for her to take charge of her own destiny. The first step was, of course, finding a way to support herself while she pursued her dream. With the money she had saved up, she knew she could last a couple of months without a steady income. She quickly updated her resume and started applying to a few local coffee shops, hoping to find a job that could give her the flexibility she needed to go after what she truly wanted. But Sarah wasn't just going through the motions this time. She was determined to make things happen. She began to research scholarships for film school, searching for every possible way to make her dreams a reality without falling into insurmountable debt. She even started saving money in new creative ways. Selling some of her old clothes, picking up odd jobs around the city, and cutting down on unnecessary expenses. As Sarah worked tirelessly to prepare for her future, something unexpected happened. One morning, a letter arrived for her. The envelope was unmarked and the handwriting on the front was unfamiliar. Curiosity piqued, Sarah opened it cautiously. Inside, she found a letter of recommendation from none other than Keanu Reeves. The letter was brief but powerful, speaking to Sarah Bautiem's character, her kindness, and her potential. He wrote that he had witnessed firsthand the way she treated others and how she had gone out of her way to make a difference even in a small way. She is the type of person who understands that kindness can change the world, even when no one is watching. The letter said. Sarah could hardly believe her eyes. She had never expected something like this, but here it was, a testament to her integrity and spirit. The letter was accompanied by a check one that covered the full cost of her application fees for the film school she had been dreaming about for years. The shock of it all left Sarah speechless. Keanu Reeves, the man she had helped with a simple act of kindness, had gone out of his way to help her in return. The letter ended with a simple message. "Oh, follow your dreams, Sarah. The world needs more people like you." It felt like the universe had conspired to bring her exactly what she needed at the right moment. With a newfound sense of purpose, Sarah decided to apply to the film school, using the check as the final push she needed to take that first step. She knew there was still much to do, more hurdles to jump and more challenges to face, but now she felt ready. As she submitted her application, she felt the weight of fear begin to lift off her shoulders. She had taken the leap. Now, all she had to do was believe in herself. Weeks went by as Sarah waited for a response from the school. During that time, she continued working at a local coffee shop, where she had found a part-time job. Despite the long hours and the exhaustion, she kept pushing forward. Every day, she focused on her goal, reminding herself that this was a temporary chapter in her life, not the end of the story. Then, one fateful afternoon, Sarah received an email notification that would change everything. Her heart raced as she opened the email, holding her breath as she read the words. "Oh, congratulations. We are pleased to offer you a place in our upcoming film program." The joy that flooded through her was overwhelming. She had done it. She had taken the leap, and now she was on her way to becoming a filmmaker, a dream that had once seemed impossible. It wasn't just the acceptance letter that made her heart soar. It was the fact that her determination, her hard work, and her belief in herself had paid off. Desk, nervously glancing around the room at her new classmates. But as the class began, and the professor spoke about the challenges of filmmaking, something inside Sarah clicked. This was where she belonged. The passion, the energy, the drive. It was all so familiar to her. It was a feeling she had never experienced before, a sense of purpose that filled her from the inside out. As the weeks went by, Sarah dove headfirst into the coursework. She worked late into the night, learning everything she could about the art of storytelling, cinematography, and editing. The lessons were hard, and there were times when she felt like giving up, especially when the pressure started to mount. But every time she wanted to quit, she thought back to the moment when Keanu had spoken to her on the bench. His words echoed. In her mind, sometimes the hardest moments lead to the greatest rewards. Our Sarah knew that if she wanted to succeed, she had to push through those difficult moments. She couldn't tempt, let fear or self-doubt hold her back anymore. With each passing day, Sarah grew more confident in her abilities. Her projects began to stand out, and her professors took notice. By the end of her first semester, she had made several short films, each one reflecting her unique perspective and creativity. It wasn't long before Sarah Hatem's name started circulating in the film school community. She was invited to participate in a student film competition, where filmmakers from all over the city submitted their work. Sarah poured everything she had into her film, working tirelessly to ensure that every detail was perfect. The night of the competition arrived, and Sarah stood nervously in the crowd of students, all waiting for the judges to announce the winners. Her heart was pounding in her chest as the finalists were called up. When the judges reached the top three, Sarah Hatem's name was TMT mentioned, and her stomach sank. But then, as the final award was announced, the grand prize, Sarah Hatem's name rang out across the auditorium. She hesitated for a moment, wondering whether to answer, but then curiosity won out. Hello? Sarah Hatem's voice was steady, though her heart was racing with anticipation. A pause on the other end, and then a voice that was unmistakable. Hi, Sarah. TM's Keanu Reeves. Her breath caught in her throat. She had heard his voice countless times, but hearing it now, on the other end of the line, felt surreal. Keanu? How did you get my number? She asked, still trying to process the fact that she was speaking to him. I have my ways, he replied with a chuckle. Reeves TM, we've been keeping an eye on your progress. You've come a long way since that day at the park. Sarah was speechless. She had no idea that Keanu had been following her journey so closely. She had always admired him, but to know that he had been watching her grow and succeed was beyond anything she could have imagined. Team, I'm calling because I wanted to tell you something important, Keanu continued. TM, we've seen a lot of students come and go, but what you TM are doing, what you TM are capable of, it's something special. You, TM, have got the heart and the drive to make a real impact in the world of film. I believe in you, Sarah, and I want to help in any way I can. The weight of his words settled on her shoulders like a warm, reassuring blanket. Keanu TM's belief in her was more than just a compliment. It was a validation of everything she had worked for, all the sacrifices she had made. It was the kind of encouragement that most people only dream of receiving, and it was from someone she had always looked up to. I don't know, TM, to know what to say. Sarah stammered, feeling overwhelmed. Thank you. I never imagined TM to be speaking to you like this. Your words mean more than you know. You don't know, TM, I'd have to say. Anything, Keanu replied. I just wanted to remind you that the journey ahead may be tough, but TM's worth it. Don't TM, let anyone tell you that you can and TM, do it. Keep believing in yourself because I certainly do. With those words, the conversation came to an end. Sarah stood there holding her phone in disbelief, trying to process what had just happened. Keanu Reeves, the person who had unknowingly changed her life, had just told her that he believed in her. It felt like a dream, but it was real. The next day, Sarah felt a renewed sense of purpose. She walked into class with more confidence than ever before, her head held high. She knew that the future was still uncertain, but she also knew that she had the strength to face whatever came her way. She was now tempted alone in this journey. She had Keanu TM's support, and she had her own unwavering belief in her. ability to succeed. As the semester went on, Sarah UTM's projects continued to impress, and she started gaining more recognition within the film community. Her films were being featured in local festivals, and she began to make valuable connections with industry professionals. But despite the growing attention, she never lost sight of why she started. It was not TMT about fame or accolades. It was about telling stories that mattered, stories that could change the world. And she knew that with Keanu TM's encouragement and her own determination, she was on the right path. 30 p.m., 4/29/2025. Ikwara. Sarah was overwhelmed with emotion. She had done it. She had created something that was not only true to her vision, but also had the power to move others. The positive feedback was overwhelming, but the most important thing was how Sarah felt. She had pushed through the hardest moments, fought through the doubts, and come out stronger on the other side. The film was her masterpiece, and she knew that it was just the beginning. As the months went on, Sarah TM's career began to take off. She received offers from production companies, and her work started to be featured at film festivals around the world. But no matter how much success she achieved, Sarah never forgot the lessons she had learned along the way. She remembered the kindness that had helped her get started, and she made it her mission to pay that kindness forward. She mentored younger filmmakers, offered encouragement to others who were struggling, and always reminded them that anything was possible if they kept believing in themselves. It was now TMT about the fame, the awards, or the recognition. It was about the impact she could make with her work and the inspiration she could provide to others. Sarah TM's journey was not just a personal success. It was a testament to the power of believing in yourself even when the world tells you that it is impossible. And as she looked back on everything she had accomplished, she knew one thing for sure. She had made it because she never gave up on her dreams. And she would continue to fight for them, no matter where the journey took her. Sarah TM's journey had taken her places she never imagined, but it was now just about her personal achievements. Her films had started to raise awareness about issues that were often overlooked. She felt a deep responsibility to use her platform to make a difference, to tell stories that mattered not only for her own growth, but for the greater good of society. As her recognition grew, so did her desire to give back. Her latest project, a documentary about climate change and its impact on marginalized communities, was something she had poured her heart and soul into. It was no attempt, just another project. It was a mission to spark change, to make people see the world from a different perspective. The project took months to complete, and during that time, Sarah traveled to remote villages, met with activists, and spoke with families whose lives had been torn apart by the effects of global warming. Each conversation left an indelible mark on her, and she knew that this film had the power to change the way people viewed the environment and the urgency of taking action. But as the premiere of the documentary neared, Sarah began to feel the pressure building again. It was one thing to make a film that people admired, but it was another to create a film that had the potential to shift public opinion and inspire real change. She couldn't shake the fear that it might not have the impact she was hoping for. What if they don't listen? She thought. Oh, what if the message gets lost? But then she remembered the lessons she had learned from Keanu, the importance of staying true to herself, of believing in the power of storytelling, and of trusting in the process. She knew she had to push past the fear and continue fighting for what she believed in. The night of the premiere arrived, and Sarah felt a wave of nerves wash over her as she entered the theater. The crowd was buzzing with excitement, but she couldn't help but feel the weight of the moment. This was not just another film horror. It was her attempt to make a lasting impact. The lights dimmed and the film began. As the story unfolded on the screen, Sarah could not help but feel a sense of pride. The work she had done, the people she had met, and the message she was delivering. This was what she had always hoped to achieve. But what happened next was even more incredible than she could have imagined. As the credits rolled, there was a long silence in the theater. Sarah Howe TM's heart raced as she waited for the audience TM's reaction. Then, one by one, people stood up. They clapped. The applause was thunderous, filling the room with a sense of unity and hope. For a moment, it felt like the entire world was on the verge of change. Sarah had done it. She had created a film that not only educated, but also inspired. The impact was immediate. The film was featured in international news outlets, and climate change activists used it as a tool to rally more people to join their cause. In the months that followed, Sarah Howe TM's film was instrumental in bringing about new policies aimed at reducing carbon emissions and providing aid to the communities most affected by climate change. Sarah received countless messages of gratitude from viewers around the world, but the most meaningful ones came from the people whose stories she had shared. They were the ones whose lives, T1 PM, 4-29, 2025, Ikara for change, and to inspire others to do the same. But what she did not know was that this chance encounter with Keanu would soon lead to another unexpected twist in her journey. Little did she know, an opportunity would soon present itself that would take her work to a whole new level. It would be a chance to collaborate with people who shared her vision, people who had the resources to help her make an even greater impact in the world. It was a moment she had been waiting for. But like everything in Sarah Howe TM's life, it would come when she least expected it. As Sarah continued to work on her projects, her journey took an unexpected turn when an influential filmmaker named James Collier reached out to her. James was known for his groundbreaking documentaries that often tackled controversial issues and sparked national conversations. His work had earned him numerous awards, and he had a reputation for creating films that pushed boundaries. When he contacted Sarah, it was because he had been following her recent projects and was impressed by her ability to tell powerful stories that resonated with audiences on a personal level. James proposed an exciting new collaboration, a film that would bring together some of the most influential voices in climate change advocacy and highlight the struggles of those most affected by environmental issues. Sarah could no borrow TMT believe it. This was the kind of opportunity she had been dreaming about. She had always wanted to work with someone who had the Keanu 2 PM, 4-29, 2025, Ikra, powerful and emotional. But the most powerful moment came at the end of the film, when Sarah Howe TM's camera zoomed in on the faces of the people who had shared their stories. They were looking directly into the lens, their eyes filled with hope and determination. The silence in the theater was palpable. When the credits finally rolled, there was a moment of stunned silence before the audience erupted into applause. It was overwhelming. Sarah felt a rush of emotion wash over her as she stood there, surrounded by the people who had made this possible. This film was more than just a project, it was a movement. The response to the film was immediate and overwhelming. Media outlets around the world picked up the story, and social media was flooded with discussions about the film TM's powerful message. It sparked conversations in schools, in boardrooms, and in homes across the globe. People who had never before considered the impact of climate change began to take notice, and grassroots organizations used the film as a rallying cry to push for policy changes. The film even caught the attention of political leaders who began discussing climate action with a renewed sense of urgency. Sarah Howe TM's work had gone from a personal journey to a global phenomenon. But through all the success, she stayed grounded. She knew that this was just the beginning. The film had made an impact, but there was still so much more to be done. The world needed more stories that could inspire change, and Sarah was determined to continue telling them. With James by her side and a new wave of momentum behind her, she set her sights on her next project, a film that would focus on the intersection of technology and the environment. She had already started to research the topic, and she knew that it would be another challenge, but she was ready for it. As she prepared to dive into this new project, Sarah felt a deep sense of gratitude for the journey she had been on. She had come so far from a young girl who dreamed of making films to a woman who was now using her voice to change the world, and through it all, she never forgot the lessons she had learned from Keanu. He had reminded her to believe in herself, to stay true to her purpose, and to never give up on the power of storytelling. With that, Sarah knew that the best was yet to come. The world was waiting for her next story, and she was ready to tell it.